So when we look at the genesis of ICTA in Sri Lanka, one has to always think about the people we brought together in this initiative because it's all about the people. Thinking back to my own self as the founder, CEO, and managing director of ICTA, my background had a lot to do with it too. I came from Millennium IT, an industry leader in stock exchange software and a depository product, which was always a market leader and respected organization. And how we had come there had a lot to do with how ICTA also was formed. So when you look at how ICTA was formed and how Sri Lanka was launched, yes, there was a vision at the beginning. I think this is very important. When you have a national program like this, cutting across all of Sri Lanka geographically and institutionally, cutting across a large government and a 3 tiers of government, provincial, district level, and all the way down to the 14,000 villages, you naturally must start with a vision which has political buy-in. And so the formation of ICTA was preceded by a very modern, appropriate, forward-thinking act. It was always going to be based on results. So the organization itself had a sunset clause. So very early we formed focus groups into all of the 6 program areas at that time. And these 6 program areas were formed as part of the blueprint, which at that time had not been either at the World Bank or any of the international development institutions ever tried in any other country. It is the first ever integrated e-development program, and frankly, one could really take credit for making it here. It's cooked in Sri Lanka, and we could be proud that this is a community of the industry and public sector and actors in the ICT community coming together to actually design this blueprint. Our vision was to take the dividends of ICT to every village and every part of private sector, business commerce, and also change the way government thinks and works. The 6 programs are designed to immediately address the weak areas for ICT to really come to its full power and potential in the country. So one area was connectivity. Connectivity back in 2002, 2003 was not what we know it in 2020. There were many parts of the country which didn't have even basic internet, let alone broadband. So we had to find ways of how to get the ICT to work, to be affordable, to be accessible, to be reliable to a villager. The villagers, because they didn't possess PCs and notebooks or internet-enabled phones, we came up with the Nanasala program. And the Nanasala was a way to bring e-kiosk, if you like, or ICT, where it was run by either a private operator or in some cases where it was difficult to find a private operator, public sector supported one, but it had internet connectivity at a subsidized rate given to this place. Equally, in parallel, you needed something to help to build the skill and capacity of people to use ICT, be it in government, be it in the political leadership, be it in schools, teachers, or in the rural villages. So this program of human resource capacity building, ICT capacity building, ran from a very comprehensive CIO program in government, for example, for government officers, in government departments to be trained, and government to run their own, departments to run their own ICT programs with only some enabling advice and support from the ICT agency through the CIOs. We also had e-laws because there were many things which the industry needed to enable them to be competitive. So e-transactions law, which was at the bedrock of a dynamic IT-enabled services industry to grow, was also under this program. It was also ICTA who push the computer crimes, copyright, which are all critical elements of the ICT private sector, to be competitive worldwide and for us to bring ICT investment into the country from different ICT multinationals coming and setting up here. So these programs, be it private sector development program, the capacity building, human resource development program, the e-government program, the connectivity program, and e-society, were the initial 6 programs which address, as I say, the weak linkages in the ICT ecosystem. I think one particular one which we shouldn't omit is the local language capabilities, Unicode work, use of Sinhala and Tamil widely for ICT to really become relevant for the rural people of Sri Lanka. Now finally, just some closing remarks on the agency and as it evolves into the next stage. I think the agency, when in its design and its inception, we recognize that we needed to keep evolving. Our mandate will evolve, our staffing has to evolve, our activities therefore have to evolve. We have to be relevant to the beneficiaries we have chosen to serve and chosen to solve problems for. And to that extent, I think over the years, it's been challenging in a public sector organization how that can be achieved, similar to the way we do in private sector. And I think as the agency looks to the new leadership to see what is the next big thing that is relevant for the agency to champion, I think we need to all to come together to understand what is now the private sector in the country looking for, what is the government sector in the country looking for, and what are our citizens now needing from the agency. And that will define its new mandate. And I must conclude by saying, whatever that mandate then emerges, one needs to have that same passion with which we began the agency, Sri Lanka, and its work.